Ready, Mark?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Change Point Theater at Change Point Church here in the city of Poughkeepsie. I'm Rob Rolison, Mayor of the city of Poughkeepsie, and I'm joined tonight by my friend Dr. Eric Rosser, the Superintendent of the Poughkeepsie City School District.
Good evening, everyone.
On March 11th, we were going to be in this very theater giving the State of the City, Eric.
Yes.
We were going to do it together because of the partnership between city government and the Poughkeepsie City School District, and that morning made the decision to postpone the State of the City because of the COVID-19 virus, which was racing our way.
Yes.
And here we are, we find ourselves in the middle of extremely trying times for this country, this world, our communities. So tonight we thought we'd be able to give you some information on what has been happening, an update on both city government, but particularly really the Poughkeepsie City School District. I want to thank Jacques Patel and the team here at Change Point, who always are there for us in the city to help get the word out. And Jacques, thank you very much. He's in the back. I know you can't see him. But I'm glad to report tonight that the city of Poughkeepsie is doing well. We unfortunately have 185 active cases within the city of individuals who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. And we're praying for all of them and their families. The city has responded well to this crisis. City government is fully functional and operating as it can be in times like this. City staff is good. We have had very little staff shortages. Our police and fire departments are fully operational, fully staffed. Obviously, City Hall is closed, and individuals are working via phone and email. We have 15 plus individuals and more actually coming online, working from home. We've cut our workforce by 50% under the direction and orders of the governor. We have been doing this at the same time trying to keep the city running to make sure that people have confidence in their public safety in all the areas of city government that are important vital services, such as sanitation. The general impacts of city staff and scheduling, as I said, have been good. Our EMS provider, Mobile Life Support Services, is doing well as can be with the call volume that they have, which has not been terrible at this point. They've got good staffing, the response times, everything that they're doing has been exemplary. And I want to thank all of our partners at Mobile Life, and especially our heroic healthcare workers. So since March 3rd, when this virus started to take hold of our communities, we started daily and weekly conference calls with the state, the county, local mayors and supervisors, and the Mid-Hudson region mayors have been talking weekly to see what's been happening in their cities. And while we've all been complying with the guidelines set forth by Governor Cuomo and the county executive, we've had to close City Hall, as you know, and City Hall will be closed until further notice. Now, we've responded to requests for service, and when appropriate and necessary, we have been able to schedule appointments in City Hall. Very far and few between, because most people can do it via email, via Zoom, via other types of teleconferencing. And I want to thank the IT department, all three of them in the city of Poughkeepsie government, that have been working literally around the clock to facilitate all of these various challenges with having government work remotely. We've done disinfecting and we've decontaminated, all of our city buildings once, twice, and now going back for a third round. City staff has ordered and received additional personal protective equipment for our first responders and now all of the staff that are working in the public arena. Our parks have been secured by order of the state. Our parks have essentially been closed off with the playgrounds, tennis courts, the dog park, the skate park, because we have to practice social distancing. I want to thank the rec director, Brian Laffin, who is now trying to putting together a volunteer team to help us with our parks as we start to potentially, at some point in time, be able to open them back up. I wanted to give you a brief update on yesterday's storm. It was a high wind event that took place for about 8 hours or so. We had 7 streets that were closed. They were all opened very quickly with downed trees and wires. I want to thank our partners at Central Hudson for responding quickly to these emergency calls. DPW also had about 3 dozen other storm-related calls, and they're going to be going street by street over the next 2 days, clearing all of the debris that has been left behind. I had a conversation this morning with Central Hudson. Approximately 72 customers in the city were without power, and I don't know exactly out of the 72 right now where that number stands, but I do know that they said system-wide that everybody should be restored to proper service by Wednesday. But I know there are some communities that were hit a lot harder than us. Now, some things that we've been doing in addition to the normal city services, we started outreach and we're continuing conversations with our faith-based communities and other community organizations via teleconferencing and Zoom video conferencing. We've held 2 video conference calls with the Children's Cabinet, and Dr. Rosser is going to give you an update on those conferences. We are currently working on funding streams for community organizations to help get them funds so they can continue the work that they're doing. Right behind me here at Change Point is a meal operation involving several community organizations working out of Change Point, delivering meals every day. We're also working in very close coordination with Dutchess County and their Dutchess response system. One other thing that we have started to do over the past 2 weeks is look at how our budget is going to be as it relates to the COVID-19 financial hit that we are all taking right now in city government, is looking at trying to find ways to cut costs to keep government moving for the rest of the year, and then we'll start to think about the 2021 budget. But we have looked at a 15% reduction in budget lines, and our budget and finance team is continually working on that to see where there are areas we can save money and put it in other areas where we're going to need additional resources. We've instituted a hiring freeze on all non-essential personnel. That is not obviously including our public safety within the fire department and the police department. And then finally, before I give it over to Eric, we're also having conversations, just as the federal government is, the state and county government, on how we will reopen the city of Poughkeepsie as we get the ability to do that. And we're talking now with our business community, our county and state partners, along with other towns and villages within Dutchess County, so we can do it in a coordinated and do it all together. So when we have the opportunity, and I hope it comes soon, to reopen the city, we will. Eric?
Well, thank you very much, Mayor. So one of the things that I wanted to note was that while we were supposed to be here May 11th to really speak about the state of the schools as well as the state of the city, I am still glad that although we weren't able to do that, I'm glad that we're able to provide this opportunity to provide some updates to our community. I want to thank the entire community for all that you've done to address the evolving needs of our children and families here in the city of Poughkeepsie on behalf of the Board of Education, our teachers and our administrators, as well as our staff who work relentlessly to meet the needs of our children. Since March 13th, there's been a lot that's changed in our normal operations as a school district. As a result of an executive order that was issued by the county exec, beginning March 16th, we were closed for any sort of in-school instruction provided to students. Through the leadership of Heather Martino, building administrators, we were able to put together at-home learning materials for our students that actually span a month. So we were able to put materials together to meet the needs of our children through April 17th. I'm going to be speaking about some of the things that we're doing to transition from the at-home learning materials to what we're calling an online distance learning model. But prior to that, I want to sort of share with you that last week, Governor Cuomo extended school closures to April 29th, 2020. The executive order also indicated that all school board elections and the annual budget votes will also be postponed until at least June 1st, 2020. When we got word that coronavirus was sort of becoming a bigger issue, particularly for our region, and in consultation with the county exec, of course, with the city government, my team started the process of putting together those at-home learning materials that I just referenced. As stated, we were able to put together enough material to provide students with a month of instruction at home. Parents can access the information via our website. We did provide opportunity several days for parents to also come to the district to pick up copies of the materials as well. Since that time, myself and other leaders throughout the district have been really discussing what ways can we provide greater instruction to our students in this time of school closures. We decided that given the fact that our children are very precious children, are very valuable children, need to have great instruction, that the best way for us to accomplish this would be to provide instruction online. Beginning April 20th, we will be transitioning from the at-home learning materials and provide instruction via Google Classroom. As a school district, we understand that there may be students or families who may need to have devices, and we're working to provide those families who have indicated that they need devices, those devices, so that their children will be able to participate. The school district is currently working to provide a device, one device per household. And for families who have a need where there's no devices that exist in your household, you will be able to receive a device from the school district beginning this week. We ask that all parents or caregivers who have that need to complete a simple and short survey on our district's website so that we can identify who you are and staff can reach out to you to provide you with the time as well as the location that you will be able to pick the device up. We will also be providing parents and caregivers the ability to learn more about Google Classroom under the leadership of Natasha Cherry as well as Deron Wilson. We have been putting together an opportunity that will make itself available on April 20th for parents to learn more about the Google Classroom environment and be able to assist their students or their children in being able to navigate the platform. I will share with our families that the Google Classroom environment is as simple as Facebook, where you're viewing us currently. So getting the swing of understanding how to use Google Classroom will be as simple as your understanding of Facebook. It's just that simple. We will also be providing what we call a student and parent Google Classroom resource guide that will be made available this week. Also, when parents pick up a device, the guide will be provided to them as well. We are seeking ways in which we can further provide students with instructional support through making sure that there are additional enhancements to our website. Along with the at-home learning materials, we have also provided on our website supplemental materials for students to be able to access as well. Some of those supplemental materials are free tours, online tours to museums across the country. There are activities that students can engage in to support their academic, social, emotional, and wellness needs. There are also activities that students and parents can engage in to develop a stronger family bond. As we continue with our school closures, we will be providing more opportunities for parents to be able to access additional information online to be able to engage our children in. Ms. Cherry has shared with me that she's very much interested in starting a online version of our Saturday morning lights, and she's in the process of putting together opportunities online to extend the Saturday morning lights program into the online environment. I also want to share with our community that we are very much aware that some of our children, unfortunately, only receive nutritious meals through our school lunch program. And through the leadership of Chef Dunn, we have been able to provide students with free breakfast and lunches at the following locations: Hudson Gardens, Thurgood Marshall, MLK, Bixby Apartments, Christ Episcopal Church. Those breakfasts and lunches can be picked up Monday through Friday from the times of 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Distribution for the following sites from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. are at Poughkeepsie High School, Eastman Tower, Rip Van Winkle Tower, and Harriet Tubman Apartments. And as I mentioned, we are providing breakfast and lunch free of charge to any student who is of the age of 5 all the way to the age of 18. The only thing you need to do is just to make sure that you're making yourselves available and the breakfast and lunches are being provided to students. And that will continue throughout school closures. We have started this, and we will continue until we reopen schools to make sure that all of our children have healthy nutritional options when it comes to their breakfast and lunch. We're also partnering with a number of different entities, such as the Poughkeepsie Farm Project, who has provided additional vegetables and fruits at these locations to help supplement what households may not have. As a school district, we are also interested in making sure that we have provided childcare for first responders and healthcare professionals. In our support of those who are giving their time and are committed to making sure that other members of our community are healthy, it is important for us that childcare does not serve as an impediment for them, those individuals engaging in those duties. We are currently partnering with Christ Episcopal Church. They will be providing opportunities for children 5 years of age and up with daycare during the school day, so parents will be able to go to work and serve as first responders and healthcare professionals. Their location is 20 Carroll Street. However, prior to showing up, we ask that you also complete a brief application on our school district website. We are also partnering with Healthy Kids, located at 103 Hooker Avenue, as well as 70 Hooker Avenue, and they're providing opportunities for children under the age of 4, as well as children 5 to 12 years old. And once again, I request that instead of just showing up to those locations, that you do complete an application that can be located on our website. There are so many other things that we're doing to support our families during this time of school closure. We understand that given the fact that our schools are closed and we're working with very limited staff in the school district, that parents may not have the type of access that they once did in speaking with members of the school community. So what we started last week, and I hope that many parents had the opportunity to engage in, if not, there will be additional opportunities next week. Each school has the responsibility of putting together what I call a principal's fireside chat. During these fireside chats, principals are able to provide parents with updates related to the school closures that would be inclusive of the instructional delivery for children, food for children, child care for children, and also making sure that parents and caregivers have an opportunity to ask questions of the principal about various things related to their children. As I stated, those principal fireside chats began last week. We will be taking a brief break this week. However, those fireside chats will resume next week. I will share with you that there's been a lot that's been going on behind the scenes while the district has been closed. We have essential staff members who have been working to make sure that all of our facilities are clean so that once school reopens, that we have JW Marriott cleanliness associated with each of our schools. At the state level, we've been provided with a lot of direction and great direction from the Department of Education. They have shared with us, given the COVID-19 pandemic, that all state testing will be canceled or has been canceled. So that would be 3 through 8 ELA and math testing, ELL testing, as well as the New York State regents. We are currently discussing what will happen in the event that schools are closed beyond April 29th. As we finalize those plans will be shared either through a medium such as this or online and or both. I will also share with you that we are very much committed to supporting the various needs of our school community. We understand that children have been asked to remain at home during this period, and that there may be need for students to access counseling or additional supports from their teachers. And a part of the Google Classroom environment, we're going to make those opportunities available. As I stated, the information on how parents will be able to access the instruction as well as the social and emotional support through Google Classroom will be articulated through a letter that I am crafting that will go out to families tomorrow and be posted on our website. In addition, it will also be provided in the packets that will be disseminated once we disseminate our computers. Let me see if there's anything else that I need to share real quick before we get into questions. The one thing I do want to sort of share with families, and while this has not been anything that's been confirmed, but in the school district, we've been really thinking about what will happen if schools are closed beyond April 29th. And I ask parents to do the same thing because it's very important that as you're thinking about supporting your family during this time period, that you're also thinking about ways in which we can partner as school district and family to meet the needs of our children. And through those fireside chats that will be taking place with the building principals, I encourage you to sort of share the challenges that you're facing, because that information then comes back to myself and the leadership team, and we're able to then address those by putting in supports and programs to meet the needs of our children. So, Mayor, I have shared my updates. Do you think we should get into the questions at this point in time?
I think we should, and I think the first one is yours, too,
Oh,
Dr.
wow.
Rosser.
So let me just go to that. Let me just fire up my computer real quick.
And you also have them on your sheet. There,
Yep.
the ones that we got, pre-submitted?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So there are a few questions that came to us that were pre-submitted, and per the mayor, I have the first one, and I'm going to read the question and then I'm going to respond. And this is a question raised by Melinda, Joanne, Tobin, and Quiana, and we thank you very much for submitting this question. The question is, will the district be providing electronic devices to students if schooling will be converted to online learning? And the answer to that is yes. We are working very hard to guarantee that we have one device per family, and we have put together a survey in which we will learn more of what families require devices and contact those families to let them know the date and time in which they can pick up those devices. Currently, we have 345 families who have identified themselves that of needing devices, and the team is working on making sure that they're contacted and that those devices can be picked up before April 20th. As I stated previously, in the event that your family is in need of a device or you know of a family that is in need of a device, please assist them with completing an application online so that we can reach out to them and schedule a time in which we can provide them with a device. Second part of the question, if so, when will this occur and how will they be distributed? So as a part of our distribution plan, as I stated, we will be contacting those families one-on-one and providing them with information as to when they can pick up the device, what time they can pick up the device, and the location in which they can pick those devices up. What is the time frame that the district is looking at for the virtual learning to be up and ready? We're looking for the virtual learning to be up and ready on April 20th. So for those families who are in still need of devices, please, 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 please complete the online survey so that we can have staff members reach out to you to identify the date, the time, and the location where you can pick that device up. The next question is mine too, Mayor, it seems. This is raised by Melinda and Eileen. What kind of support will parents be given to help their children with schooling at home? So as I mentioned, under the leadership of Duran Wilson and Natasha Cherry, they're putting together a fabulous learning opportunity for parents. Mr. Wilson is also putting together a fabulous learning opportunity for youth to be able to access and understand how to access Google Classroom. As I stated previously, there's a number of different resources on our website. And on our website, we have 3 major areas where parents can learn more about COVID-19 under our Coronavirus Resource Center. We're constantly updating that portion of our website with up-to-date information. There's also a place on our website where we have our at-home learning materials and supplemental materials that parents and students can access. And we recently, as of this past Thursday, created another section on our website that speaks to distance learning, where there will be a lot of resources for students and parents to be able to access information in our Google Classroom, as well as other online learning supplemental opportunities for our families. What opportunities for professional development are being offered to administrators and teachers to enhance their skills and knowledge in distance learning strategies? It's a great question. And under the leadership of the Distance Learning Committee that we put together when COVID-19 became a reality for our community, and that committee is made up of Dr. David Scott, Heather Martino, Mr. Joe Mazzetti, Cheryl Wabinowitz, Duran Wilson, Natasha Cherry, Christina Jean Greco, Sean in our IT department, myself, and others as we call them in, such as Mr. Hodge and others. And what we have determined is that prior to rolling out a distance learning platform for our children to engage in, that our first order of business was to make sure that the capacity of our building administrators as well as our teaching staff was one that would be able to provide meaningful, impactful, value-added instruction through the Google platform. We engaged in a 2-week professional learning opportunity that started on March 30th and concluded on April 9th, where teachers and administrators, through the assistance of Duchess Bosse's, engaged in professional learning around Google Classroom, the various components of the Google Suite, and how to implement those in a meaningful way to students. And we're very much excited that throughout this week that we're in session, that our teachers are working remotely to prepare those environments for our children come April 20th. I think you have the next question.
Sure. Question 3, and this comes from Kiana and Melinda. And it's a two-part question. And the first part, I think I can probably get into, and then Dr. Rosser can get into the first part of the second part, and then I can finish up with a little more detail. It says, what are the mental health resources being provided to our students and their families? So the one thing that everyone needs to understand, if you have a mental health crisis, yourself, a loved one, another family member, a friend, a neighbor, 24 hours a day, you can call the Dutchess County Mental Health Helpline at 485-9700 and get assistance. For the city of Poughkeepsie, our police officers are trained in crisis intervention. And as we come in contact with individuals prior to COVID-19, our officers are being able to deal with crisis. And obviously, this brings on another set of circumstances for police officers and others to be interacting with the public. Several years ago, we started here in the city of Poughkeepsie the Behavioral Evaluation Assistance Team, which pairs crisis intervention trained officers and members of the Dutchess County Office of Behavioral and Community Health, trained mental health professionals that go out on a regular basis and interact with individuals in crisis, mainly individuals who are on the streets, homeless, street people, individuals with addiction and substance abuse and alcohol problems and mental health challenges on a one-on-one basis and develop relationships. We've already spoken about how we may have to expand the services of that team. And we're having these discussions now as we may deal with, as a community, as families, as a school district, as city government, with increased issues surrounding mental health. We will meet those challenges together. And I think the most important thing for all of us is don't be afraid to feel that way.
Right.
The pressure that is on all of us, whether it's people in this theater tonight and people at home worrying about so many different things, is that we're going to have to get through this together, and we will. And the commitment, I know, of the school district, I can speak for Dr. Rosser, but I can definitely speak for the city council and members of the city workforce. We are going to get through this together. Dr. Rosser?
Yeah, and I wanted to just sort of reiterate, so one of the things that we're doing as a school district is to make sure that our school counselors, our social workers, and our psychologists are available online to be able to provide students, with support. For me, being a former school counselor, I understand the importance of social emotional health and making sure that our children's social emotional needs are addressed so that they're able to continue to flourish as youngsters, seeking to be contributing citizens of our great community. So we will be providing that. We're also looking to work with a number of community-based organizations to see in what ways they may be able to assist with addressing the varying needs of our children during this difficult time for all of us. I know that the mayor and I have talked about making sure that as a part of our children's cabinet, that this is something that we will be also looking to bring community around so that our children and our families during this time of school closures as well as, the COVID-19 pandemic are supported in the best way that we can wrap our arms around the community while still practicing social distancing.
The second part of this question, Dr. Rosser, also is, as an adult, I struggled to cope with issues of this pandemic. And will any form of programs or services be put into place to transition our students back into the school buildings and then community as a whole? You want to talk about the school buildings, I can talk about the
Yeah.
community as a whole.
So we're always looking for ways in which we can address the evolving needs of our children. And they can be somewhat complex sometimes. They can be very simple, but they can also be very complex. So I've been working with my team of administrators as well as teacher leaders throughout the district to discuss ways in which we can address the social emotional needs of our children. As I stated just previously, we will make our people available, online. Each of our school counselors, along with our teachers, will have what we call office hours, where outside of the instruction that's being provided, our teachers, as well as our school counselors, social workers, and psychologists, will make themselves available to be able to address any sort of need that a child may have. Question is, in the event that there's a parent that may need to have a conversation with a school counselor, the only thing, what we ask of our parents is just simply send the school counselor, social worker, teacher, psychologist an email, and then they will make arrangements to have a conversation with you about the issues or the need that you may have. As we think about transitioning back to school, whenever that may be, we're really looking at ways in which we can bring the whole community into that. We have been very successful here in the Poughkeepsie city of having a number of community-based organizations, faith-based institutions, individuals who may not even be connected with an organization but are good Samaritans in meeting the needs of our children and family. We will be working with a conglomerate of individuals to address the needs of our entire community once we transition back to normal.
So the second part of the question was when transitioning back into the schools, and the other part was transitioning back into the community as a whole. It's a great question because we are a whole community. We've said this, we are one community. And I think as we look forward to reopening the city of Poughkeepsie, getting access to our parks in a much larger way. I was down driving on the waterfront on Easter Sunday, and there were people at the waterfront. Mm-hmm. It's a place of solitude. It's a place that makes you feel well. What are we going to be able to do as a community to make sure that everyone, and we're going to do this together because we've all been affected by this. It's not one particular section of this state, this county, or this city that has been impacted by COVID-19. So we have an opportunity to do this together and to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to just feel good about life again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what all those answers are, but I definitely know what the questions are. And how, when we think about what we're doing in city government, how are we going to transition? How are we going to do this? What are we going to do when we reopen? The question we always ask ourselves, how do we get a chance to do it for everybody? And certain parts of cities across this country, but in the city of Poughkeepsie, may open up differently or open up at a different pace, or different things may happen first when it comes to cultural activities and entertainment. I mean, I'm focused right now on the parks, is making sure that at some point we can get people to get back into our park system. And I think that the partnership, and this is what I love so much about my partnership and friendship with Dr. Rosser and his entire team, is that we're always thinking this way, even before COVID-19. And when you think about the children's cabinet, Eric, and how we first heard about that last year, then made a commitment to one another to say that we will do this in 2020, which we did. And little did we know that when we established the executive committee of the cabinet, which is 30-plus people from all kinds of different organizations within and outside the city of Poughkeepsie, working together to help the school district, which then helps the city of Poughkeepsie, that we would be confronting COVID-19. It was never discussed because we didn't know about it. Yeah. So the great thing about the cabinet is it is a structure that exists. We've already had meetings. One big meeting where we all came together for the first time. 2 other meetings, virtual meetings, and everyone is working together to address these challenges and addressing challenges that we don't even know about yet,
Yeah.
or we don't even have the opportunity to address, because right now it is making sure, and what you're talking about, distance learning and all the things going on with the instruction of the students and assistance to the family. So I think that the cabinet, again, I want to say it again, I say this all the time, so glad that we did it, because we are now going to be challenged like this cabinet will never be challenged, hopefully ever again in the future. And we're going to make a real difference for this community. And happy to say also, too, we're the only cabinet in New York State outside of New York City, which is a good thing.
And the thing, too, Mayor, with this, too, is we talk about the cabinet, and many people aren't familiar with the executive committee of the cabinet, but we have a group of extremely committed individuals who are serving as members of the children's cabinet. And when we had our first meeting to discuss the challenge that is before us, each of those members, through thought partnership, through passion, through down honest commitment to children and families here in the city of Poughkeepsie, have stepped up in ways in which they're currently working to bring about opportunity and access for our children and our parents. And they have also thought about ways in which we can connect and align services to better meet the needs of our children. Mayor, I want to take a moment, because I'm sort of following us on Facebook, and it's kind of it's kind of a different experience seeing yourself on Facebook speaking. But I see a lot of comments on here about why is the Poughkeepsie City School District so late with being able to provide devices to our children. I want to sort of address that real quick, because that's a great question. So we as a school district, as I've stated since I've come on board since August 5th of 2019, that there's a lot of improvement that needs to happen within the city of Poughkeepsie School District, and we are trajectorying into the right direction and being able to address many of the challenges. Unlike many school districts surrounding us, but not unlike many school districts across the state, we did not have a distance learning platform in place. Through the leadership of teachers, administrators, my executive team, we were able to bring together a distance learning model, which I stated will be Google Classroom, and we are currently seeking to provide devices to children. And in many school districts across the state, they're in the same position that we're in. There are some local school districts in the surrounding school districts that already had those that platform in place, so they were able to easily transition into that. But I will assure you that under the leadership of the Board of Education and my administration, that we will be working to provide for our children, because I came to Poughkeepsie with one goal in mind, is to turn the school district around and to make sure that all children who are members of the Poughkeepsie City School District are provided with opportunity and access that will then lead to their future success beyond the K-12 continuum.
So the next question is for you, Dr. Rosser, and it is from our friend Gully.
Oh, Gully. Hello, Gully. So the question is, assuming that at some point we can restore public gatherings, do your plans include continuing the Lights program? So let me just do let me just answer the question. Yes, definitely. The Lights program has been very successful, under the leadership of Natasha Cherry. We started with the Friday nights program last year. We then transitioned over the summer months to Thursday night lights. We then came back to school and had Friday night lights. And then over the winter time, we then introduced something very new to the community called Saturday morning lights. And Saturday morning lights is actually an opportunity for children ages kindergarten or grades, kindergarten all the way up to sixth grade, to be able to participate in educational, fun, extracurricular activity Saturday morning at our middle school. And we are partnering with a number of different community-based organizations to make that happen for our children. Prior to the COVID-19 situation, that program was flourishing. We had about an average of 200 students every Saturday, not students by themselves, but students with their families, participating in the program. And we're looking to restart that once the social distancing restrictions have been lifted and it's safe for us to interact with one another on a face-to-face basis. However, also be reminded that under the leadership of Ms. Cherry and Mr. Wilson, we're also looking to create opportunities for families to be able to participate in Saturday morning lights activities online. There's some question around whether or not our families who may not have internet connectivity will be able to use the devices that we're providing for the Google Classroom instruction as well as the Saturday morning lights. And through partnership with Tom Lawrence at the Poughkeepsie Library, we're working on a solution to be able to provide access to the internet for our families. In addition, there's a number of different service providers, be it Spectrum, be it Cricket, be it Sprint, be it Verizon, that have provided opportunities and continue to provide opportunities for free internet access to families either using their mobile devices or connecting an internet modem within your home free of charge for either 60 to 90 days. So we encourage those families who may want to have their own access to be able to contact either Spectrum or their cell phone provider and inquire in what ways can they utilize the free services that are being provided throughout the city of Poughkeepsie, throughout the state of New York, throughout the entire United States.
So the next two are from Kathy and Lynn for you.
Okay, so
Eric.
Question from Kathy and Lynn? Okay.
Yeah, Lynn.
How are students to be graded, particularly high school seniors, for third and fourth quarter marking grades? So I'm putting together correspondence which will go out to our parents tomorrow. The Distance Learning Committee has decided that for the third marking period, students will be graded on a pass-fail, and that pass-fail will be based upon the instruction that they were provided from the beginning of the third quarter marking period to March 13th. The instructional learning materials that students have completed at home will be considered for extra credit. So for students who may be teetering on that fail because they weren't doing so well during the period from the beginning of the marking period to March 13th, those packets that you turn in once you return to school will then be considered for extra credit to provide students with the opportunity of receiving a pass for the third marking period. For the fourth marking period, we are still having conversations as to what that's going to look like. Currently, Governor Cuomo's orders are that we return back to school on April 29th, which means that for the period of April 20th through the 28th, we will be engaged in the online learning platform where we will be able to provide students with instruction. Teachers will have the responsibility of providing feedback to students on their various assignments so that students will have a good sense as to how they are performing in the tasks that the teachers are providing. As we learn more about what COVID-19 will mean to our community, in particular what it means as it relates to school closures, we will be updating our school community, which is inclusive of our parents and our students, of exactly how we're looking to grade the fourth quarter. The next question is, my children go to the high school and take AP classes. How will the AP, and for that matter, the Regents exams, be handled if schools do not reopen this school year? So the AP is administered, and that's advanced placement. That's an acronym that we use in education for advanced placement. So many of our students at the high school are engaged in advanced placement, which is a great thing because many urban environments, they don't offer AP classes to students within their school district. Here in Poughkeepsie, we've been offering AP classes for quite some time, and that's a big plus for the Poughkeepsie City School District. AP is administered by College Board, and we are working currently to understand better what College Board is expecting as it relates to testing. We have received communication that College Board is also adjusting some things. So in the event that we are out of school for the remaining part of the school year, an AP test cannot be administered in school, then AP tests will most certainly be administered online through the College Board, and we'll be able to provide students who are in the AP classes with more information about how to access that information. As I stated, Commissioner Tahoe, Commissioner of the New York State Department of Education, has already suspended, and let me back up. Chancellor Betty Rosa has suspended Regents for the state of New York. So Regents testing will not take place under the direction of Commissioner Tahoe of the New York State Department of Education. We're being provided with direction as superintendents how to make sure that students who are concluding courses that require a Regents, what we as a school district need to do next in order for those students to be able to qualify for graduation once they graduate from high school. And it seems like the next question is mine as well.
You have a few. But I wanted to say one quick thing. So I think Lynn was actually Eileen.
Eileen,
I
that's
was Eileen.
It's-
My mistake.
Yes, Eileen, it's a beautiful name,
Yeah,
regardless. I may have to
know
use
Eileen.
it for a later time. So the next question is mine. With all the technology today and children being home and possibly parents, why haven't teachers made themselves available to the students or reached out to students for continuous learning? So that kind of goes back to my original statement around where we're at as a city school district. And while there has been great challenge in the city of Poughkeepsie School District for quite some time, we're of a day and age where there's a lot of positive things that are happening within the district. We've been able to accomplish so much in a very short time period, and we only have up to go when it comes to making sure that our children have a high quality educational experience, as well as making sure that our parents and the community are a part of this very important work that we do on behalf of children day to day. So to address the question, the reason why we have not had teachers across the board reaching out to students using technology is because we have not had a platform throughout the district in which we can rely upon, where our teachers and our administrators have been trained and we have the necessary resources to be able to provide that. Beginning April 20th, as I stated, instruction will be online. There will be opportunities for meaningful conversations between teacher and students through that platform, and we will use that platform as long as schools are closed.
So the last question that we've gotten prior to the event tonight was a question that, again, I think for both of us, Dr. Rosser, what safety protocols will be in place when schools reopen? And I know you and I were talking about this question before going live, and I'll let you, start what you think on the inside, and I can talk a little bit on the outside if that's what that may mean also.
Right. So the safety and welfare of our students as well as our staff members is paramount, under this administration. It's very important that once we return to school, that our school environments are clean. And as I stated, my expectation is that we have a JW cleanliness and JW Marriott, that is, cleanliness when it comes to our school environments. We have been working very diligently to make sure that whenever we have staff members who have come back into the building to potentially pick up additional instructional materials to be able to set up their Google Classroom environments, that we then have our custodial staff go behind our teachers and make sure that we're cleaning. And once the space has been cleaned, we have already established what we call periodic cleans, because we know that when things sit still, then the dust begins to settle. So we wanted to make sure that we are staying on top of our cleaning, sort of like the spring cleaning that my wife does every spring, where she gets up every Saturday morning, every other week, and sort of begins dusting. we want to do the same thing so that once our school environments have been cleaned, we want to go back and do refreshes to make sure that the environments are safe for not only our students, but also our staff to be able to return to.
As far as the city of Poughkeepsie is concerned, one of the things in getting back to the Children's Cabinet and the conversations that we had both internally here in Poughkeepsie, but also in the time that we spent up at Harvard and Cambridge, Massachusetts, is the 80-20 statistic, right? 80% of a child's life is spent outside of the classroom. 20% is inside. So the learning environment outside of school and what you can do outside of school is really important to how you develop as a student. So we've made that particular statistic a very important aspect of what we're going to be able to do in the city of Poughkeepsie when it comes to that outside activity, that outside experience. Safety in and around the schools, safe passage between home and your school buildings. And we were working on this literally the weeks prior to COVID-19 and creating the safety initiatives for the students to be able to have that experience outside of the school building. So that is something that certainly we're going to follow through if schools start back up this school year. However, even if they don't, all of the things that we do when we ask ourselves as a city government, how does this impact children and their families? How does this impact that 80% of a child's life is spent outside of the school district? That's our commitment to that. And I think that's the last question.
Yeah,
that
there are a
we had,
number of
and then
questions
we got
that
a bunch
are
that we
online, and I
got
see
online.
that our time is escaping us. So I'm going to go through
Yeah, we can probably
these real quick.
Yeah,
But
we
let
could.
me say this, that any question that people have presented online, we most certainly will make sure that there's an FAQ document that is provided to respond to these questions and made available to those of you who are watching us live, and for, of course, those who may not be able to, because I believe right now Governor Cuomo is doing some things as well. So I've already addressed the issue around Wi-Fi. We're working very critically and closely with a number of different partners, Tom Lawrence of the Poughkeepsie Library in particular, to make sure that we're providing opportunities for Wi-Fi connectivity for our families. There's questions on here regarding regents, what's going to happen with the regents. As I stated, the regents have been suspended for this year. There's a lot of detailed information that unfortunately this platform does not provide me the ability to go into the level of detail, but as I stated, those families who have children who are in regents bearing courses, you will be communicated with of the various nuances associated with the suspension of the regents testing. There's a question on here from Stacy Michael, what's going to happen with the seniors? And her question probably speaks to, in the event that we do not return to school, what will happen with the senior class? Will they be able to graduate? And my answer to that is emphatically yes, they will be able to graduate. The Commissioner of Education has provided us with an understanding of the criteria by which school districts need to follow in order for seniors to be able to graduate, and we will be having conversations with those parents of seniors to let them know exactly what those criteria are so that we can support your child with being able to successfully complete their high school career. Questions around will there be an email address or a telephone number for families who do not have the ability to complete the online survey? And the answer to that question is yes. I was working with my director of IT today, and I shared with him that we need to make sure that we have a telephone number that is dedicated for parents being able to leave us information, which will give us the ability to then respond to their need for a device. What is going to be the outreach for E&L families as we continue to move forward with the execution of our distance learning plan? We will be reaching out to those E&L families who may have a bilingual or excuse me, a monolingual parent, and making sure that we are communicating with them in their home language so that they have an understanding of the various initiatives that are out there. Um, I believe that is, oh, there's a question on here. Is there a place to donate laptops, iPads, et cetera, that are no longer needed? And there will be. We haven't yet sort of established that because we've been working very hard to make sure that the devices that we've been able to secure will be going out to our families, but we will be posting something on our website to be able to share with individuals drop-off times for devices so that we can get those devices into the hands of our youngsters. I believe that covers the questions that are online, Mayor. And as I stated before, if there's more questions that you would like for myself and the mayor to address, please most certainly continue to sort of forward those on this Facebook Live platform so that we can develop an FAQ and we can be responsive to all questions.
Also, too, I just wanted to say that this is our first conversation that we have had on this ongoing public health crisis, and we're going to have more, and hopefully we're going to be able to have them from here. Dr. Osser and I have been speaking regularly, obviously, about this situation, and we are committed to all the engagement that we can possibly do to get information out, because as much as we believe it has gotten out, I know on the city side that we have found constituencies and individuals that haven't heard about all the things that the city is doing, the county is doing, and the state is doing. And obviously, we have our website at cityofpoughkeepsie.com, Dutchess County, dutchessny.gov. All of the information related to COVID is on there, and it's constantly changing. I mean, this is such an evolving public health crisis with protocols starting, getting more strict. At some point, we hope that they change the other way, that there's just this constant evolution of information. And we're trying to get that out there as comprehensively as possible. And if we are missing things, we need to know. I mean, obviously, you can call my office at 451-4073, but email me at rrollison@cityofpoughkeepsie.com. We're working right now, and this was in process before COVID-19, on a shared communication strategy between the school district, Eric, right, and city government. So we're speaking with one voice on so we're connected, and this has really just shown us why it's so important to do that. I just saw today that when you talk about communication and giving people the opportunity to share information, that MidHudsonNews.com is going to be doing something with individuals to learn about journalism, and maybe there's a partnership there that we can use city school students to help get the information out too. And actually, we need to, because that's a whole separate constituency in itself. I just wanted to just briefly say that, you know, we've created this shared communication strategy. Also, the school district and the children's cabinet it's a plan that is going to help with coverage gaps, I understand, and you might want to expand upon that a little bit, because we know, getting back to the cabinet, these are the things that we've been talking about. And if people want to know more about the cabinet, again, just ask us. There are 30 plus committed people in our area who are coming together to work together as a group of individuals to help city government and help the city school district. That's, you know, the concept of the children's cabinet. And I'll just say one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to my friend, the superintendent, to close it. I'm glad we got together tonight.
Same here.
We haven't seen each other as much as we normally have, because we've been in two different places and social distancing, as everyone should be. But to everyone that's listening tonight and is hearing our discussion and having this dialogue with you, this has been really important for me. It's been really important so I can go back to the workforce and tell them what we heard and what the questions were, and to follow up with them, because There's no doubt that this is a great city. But we're going to come out of this as even a better city. And when you talk about that whole of community, those are the things that get you through the most difficult and trying experiences that we are now facing, probably and hopefully for our whole lifetime. And my heart goes out to every single person, not just in the city of Poughkeepsie, but anywhere who has been affected by this crisis, especially the individuals who have lost loved ones, people that we haven't even heard about yet.
Yeah.
And in the days to come, it's going to get tougher. It's going to be more emotionally draining. But working together and being there for one another, we will get through this. Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, and I just want to close, Mayor, sort of picking up what you just spoke to, which is really the power of community. And, many people, know a little bit about my history. I've been, in a number of different places across the eastern seaboard. I've spent a lot of time in Buffalo, New York. I lived in the D.C. area. I lived in Virginia. I lived in Georgia. I've been all over the place when it comes to being a member of a variety of different communities. And I have shared previously that one of the many great things about the city of Poughkeepsie is really the power of community. And this community has really shown that they are very much interested in understanding the needs of our children, and not only understanding, but also stepping up and being a true advocate, or as I like to call them, champions for children. And what I ask of you is that as we're engaging in identifying multiple solutions to multiple challenges that we are faced with as it relates to our children, the power of community, us coming together, us wrapping our arms around one another, us engaging in thought partnership, us being committed to the future of our community is going to result in our children, our community, we as adults, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to thank each of you for all that you've done, all that you will continue to do, and all that you represent when you are out there advocating for our children, when you are posing tough questions to the mayor and I about ways in which we're going to work collaboratively together to address the varying needs of members of our community. When you make yourself available to our children, and when you do the very simple thing of articulating what resources are available to those who may not know, that expands the world and the opportunities for those individuals immensely. And I encourage all of us to continue to do so. So while each of you are on Facebook Live, if there's positive messages that you can translate into posts on your Facebook page or your other social media sites, please do so. We want to make sure that the information is getting out there because we do know that there are many members of our community who unfortunately at this point in time do not have access to the internet. We understand that there's many members in our community that may not have access to a lot of things that have become staples in many of our lives. And the best way for us to make sure that they are part of what's being offered is to make sure that we're communicating with them to let them know what opportunities are available to them. So I want to say thank you. If I can use this time to sort of thank my wife for putting up with me because I've been sort of, burning the midnight oil. If I can also thank my mother, who is just turned 73 years old this past Friday, with not hearing from me every day, and she's logged in this evening to hear me speak. These are the individuals who are supporting me and making sure that as superintendent that I come to work every day with the same level of motivation, encouragement, and drive to make sure that as superintendent that I'm being a servant leader to our families and our community. So I want to thank everyone for your participation in tonight's Facebook Live session, town hall session.
You know, I think that since you beat me to the punch in
I had
thanking
to
Tara,
because,
so I have to also thank my wonderful wife, Lori, who has certainly had to endure quite a bit, as so many of us, families, everyone staying at home, and I need to thank her as well. And my son Chris, who was a police officer in Westchester County, and I will end with that.
Well, and let me just say this too. So as we're talking about those who are supporting us behind the scenes, please, everybody who's online, please, if you haven't already, make sure that you're developing relationships or strengthening the relationships that you have with those of you or those individuals who are considered to be friends and loved ones, because we're going to get through this together. Of course, individuals can get through this, but there's much more support and power when we are working on things together and having individuals that we can simply pick up the telephone and say, hey, Tara, I had a rough day at work. I was in a marathon meeting that was like 4 to 5 hours long, and by the end of the meeting, I could barely spell my name. And then her being able to say, it will be okay. Make sure you come home. Once you come home, I'll make sure that A, B, and C are taken care of so you don't have to worry about that. We need those type of people in our lives during this pandemic, because it's very important that as we are dealing with these things individually and as leaders and collectively, that we're relying upon one another to be able to support our efforts with being able to see our families and ourselves through this difficult time, and as superintendent, for me to be able to see, the city school district through this very difficult time. So thank you very much, and we look forward to our next,
Thank you.
we look forward to our next opportunity to address the community through this town hall fashion. Everyone have a good night, be safe, and make sure that you're eating well, you're getting good sleep, and that, as Dr. Watson tells me, who is our board president, make sure you're taking your vitamins every day, Eric, and I've been doing so. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.